Well, hello, and welcome to what it's a very exciting evening. I mean, I love doing Welsh Football Fans anyway, but this is like really properly exciting evening type stuff tonight. So we're going to be talking about, and we may have mentioned it a couple of times before, but we're going to be talking about, we made a film. You may not have noticed this, but we've made a film. It's called Tosh, and weirdly, it's about Tosh. And we are going to talk mainly about that tonight, but also about lots of other stuff as well. And to help me with that, I've got two absolutely beautiful men and the director of the film, Pete Jones. We're going to talk to Pete very shortly, but we're also going to talk to this man, well, just a man that you know as Wyndham Evans, because that's his name, and another man that you might know as David Giles, because that also is his name. And we're going to be talking about this wonderful, wonderful film. We're very excited to show to you very soon. We've got some exclusive DVD extra clips. We've got a competition later on in the program as well. But first off, let's give you a little taster with the trailer.
In 1975, Swansea City were down and almost out. The Vetch field was like the proverbial graveyard. The pitch was bumpy and bare, the support likewise. But help was on the way.
I don't think I've ever been daunted in my life.
He brought a big-time feel to the club and really a belief that if you follow Tosh, then you're going to be successful.
We were always told that Liverpool, Shanks and Bognor pressure the best days of your life, and they certainly were.
The size of the type was actually bigger when the Post announced the end of the Second World War.
What he has done at Swansea is the most remarkable thing that's been in the game since the war.
What? How does this happen?
Just almost unbelievable, really, that we were top of the league.
Liverpool were meant to be beat by Swansea.
The whole world was looking at us now.
Aberdeen Foster was manager of the century.
Fourth, third, second, first. Easy to say it, but a bit more difficult to do it.
I know, properly exciting, isn't it? It is great. And we're going to talk to it with you guys. David Giles, my old compadre, my old partner in crime. You and I have spent many a freezing, bloody evening at the Vetch.
We have, Al.
We've huddled together for warmth.
Yes.
You know, Giles has got me drunk on many, many occasions. Wyndham Evans, welcome to the show. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks very much.
How are you?
Very good, thanks.
I was a bit sort of a little bit intimidated because we watched a lot of footage that goes into the film over the last 5 or 6 months or so, but your interview is and can we grab a still just from Wyndham's interview, because it is a little bit like London Gangster. Because you look fab, and it's like, he's going to come on here. He's going to be like this proper London gangster. I just thought, right,
I'm from
okay.
I'm not London gang.
Sorry?
I'm from Llanelli.
Llanelli, not London.
Yeah,
It's worse. And also over on the edge there, at the other end of the table, Pete Jones. Welcome, Pete Jones.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. Very excited to be in the company of these two guys.
Yeah, and me.
And yourself, of course. 2 weeks away from the premiere of the film. It's been a long time.
Is it 2 weeks away?
2 weeks tonight. In 2 weeks' time, we'll all be filing into the Swansea.com Stadium, or whatever it's called these days.
It just trips off the tongue, doesn't it? Swansea.com Stadium.
Tongue, yeah. So it certainly won't be tripping off the tongue by the end of the night.
No.
Next time. But yeah, so it's a very exciting time, and I'm looking forward to chewing the fat tonight with Gilo and Wyndham.
Yeah.
All about the film and what we've done in the making of it.
Are you not sick of the size of them?
No,
Because you've been looking at it for months.
I've been looking at them for 44 years.
Oh, yeah, you're still not sick of the size.
And I'm still not tired.
Yeah. And thank you very much for bringing in some quite beautiful memorabilia this evening. We've got a classic shirt over there, beautiful Patrick tracksuit top there. Obviously, it's one of those pictures that, there must be about 10, 12 pictures in the whole world that you will ever remember, and you would just go, it's that iconic picture. And there's one of them right there.
Swansea City terms, it's about as iconic as it gets. It's in the top 5 images, certainly of the Tosh era, if not all. You got Tosh on the Guildhall steps there, where he said this is only the start.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it was the start of the end. But for one season,
Well, it wasn't lying. It was the start of something.
We burned brightly for that one season in the first division. You've got Robbie, Kurt, and Jeremy over there. Another of the top 5 iconic images in the Tosh era, and a lovely little pop art canvas there. Robbie again, sadly no longer with us. If there's one person who could be there in a fortnight's time, we'd all love to see. It's Robbie James. Sadly, he can't be there, but he'll be there in spirit, and we've done him proud in the film. That's for certain.
And I swear, Alan Curtis hasn't aged.
He gets younger.
It is. It is like what's his name, Benjamin Button, isn't it? The guy that gets younger. Yeah.
Well, he did 20 years ago win Mr. Mumbles. If you're aware of that. It's just a thing they done down the Mumbles.
Yeah.
And he became Mr. Mumbles. So he phoned me up. He said, "I win." I said, "Hi, Kurt, what's happening?" I said, "I've just been voted Mr. Mumbles." And I said, "Who was second?" He said, "Michael Douglas."
I think that's what MBE stands for. It's Mumbles Best Entertainer. So it's only right he's got his MBE.
So, I mean, it's just like names. Names just fall out, don't they? It's like, these two are in it. Alan Curtis is in it. The man himself, John Toshak, is in it. John Bishop is in it. Correct. You know, and the comedian, the Doctor Who apprentice. He's in it as well. But they're all relevant reasons why everybody is in it, because they've all got a story to tell about what was a particularly special era.
John Bishop was in this very office here, and he was handily for us. He was down here filming Doctor Who. I knew he was a Liverpool fan, big time Liverpool fan. He was also a semi-professional footballer, so he was a bit tasty himself. I think his brother played for Crewe and Tranmere and back in those days. I knew him through, well, I didn't know him, my brother knew him. I knew I could get hold of him through my brother. And we got him down here. He couldn't have been nicer. His knowledge of Tosh was incredible. He knew all about Harry Griffiths. I don't know if he'd been doing his revision the night before or whether he just knew these things, but he remembered the Tosh tracksuit incident at Anfield. He remembered how he went through the leagues. He'd actually followed the Swans when Tosh came to Swansea, as a lot of Liverpool fans did, because they kind of adopted Swansea as their second club. Such was their love for Tosh. So he was fantastic. He brings a bit of star quality to it. And I think, Swansea fans, Liverpool fans would be surprised at just how clued up he is on the subject matter. And a bloody nice bloke too. Yes,
he was. Yes. Right, now, your comments count. Your questions count as well. Questions and comments are open, so do please get them in. We'll be firing them at Gilo and what's his name, Wyndham, as we go on. And what I want to get into is, and we're going to link seamlessly into a first little piece of footage that we've got for you guys, is the day of the signing, the day of the announcement of Tosh is coming to Swansea. I just want to take back to good. You were at Cardiff at the time.
I was, yeah.
And when you were,
I was at Swansea.
Certainly wasn't at Cardiff.
No, it certainly wasn't at Cardiff. No, it definitely wasn't. That 350 odd games for Swansea. Like somebody tells you John Toshak's going to be the new manager.
Yeah. We all thought it was a joke, It was, why would Tosh come and play for us, And the biggest thing we were pleased as a player, where I was, he was only 28, 29, and he still played football for us. He didn't come down just to manage. He came down and he played for us, and he scored loads of goals, and he was a top-class player.
Did it intimidate you at the time, or was it just a massive boost?
No, it's just a big boost to us. Just him alone going in the team. We've just signed up a manager, but he given straight in as centre forward, and he was straight in the team. And alongside Alan Curtis.
Alan Curtis.
Yeah.
The never aging Alan Curtis. And you were at Cardiff. Now that's relevant because you were at Cardiff because Tosh went to Cardiff first. And they went, no, you're all right.
Yeah, no, I remember it all. We were on Indian Park training, and he turned up, came out in his kit, and one or two of the senior players said, what you're doing? He said, look, I want to cut my teeth in coaching. He said, so the club I started, I wanted to come back here and offer my services just to be a player coach. We're still going to play, like Wyndham said. He was 28, 29, so he could still play a bit. But he wanted to be on the coaching side as well. Unfortunately, Cardiff which they'd done over the years, have made a bad choice and bad decisions. Jimmy Andrews wasn't keen about the idea because he knew his job would be threatened by it. And Cardiff said no, and the rest is history. He went down the road to Swansea. And
we knew at Swansea, we were all talking about him going to Cardiff, and maybe would he come to Swansea? And I thought, oh no, he won't come to Swansea. And he did. Quite amazing.
It was a logical thing for him to go to Cardiff, being a Cardiff boy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But more importantly to that, Cardiff were in the 2nd division, Liverpool in the 1st, Swansea in the 4th. It made much more sense to drop down one league.
Yeah, get one promotion.
You know, and even as a Swansea fan, I've got a grudging respect for that Cardiff shirt with the blue, with the yellow and the white.
Oh, it's a nice
And I've often wondered what Tosh would have looked like in that fantastic Cardiff shirt. And, you know, a season later, maybe you'd have seen Ian Callaghan and Tommy Smith wearing that Cardiff shirt. I'm so glad that never happened. But yeah, Bob Latchford could have rolled up at Ninian Park a few years later. He certainly could have got them to the 1st division a damn sight quicker than Swansea because they were only one league below.
Yeah.
God help us, it didn't happen. And he came to Swansea, and the rest is history. And a very quick history, because 3 years later, from that March 1st, in the May of '81, 1st division year become.
Yeah. Quite incredible.
You guys must have thought, you're just invincible. You must have thought that, because it happened that quickly. The turnaround was like Projan first year, you know. And
everything he done just turned to gold all the time. Everything he done now. Tommy Smith, Ian Callaghan, Phil Bosma, Alan Wardle. He was signing people, you know, when we were playing, and we were winning and winning and winning all the time. You know, Gilo came, Ian Walsh came, you know, and all people who he knew personally. They were like he knew you.
Yeah, he knew me as a kid at Cardiff.
Cardiff boys, you know, and because before that, Don Murray and Dave Carver came. I don't know if you remember them, and they came on loan. Do you remember that, John?
Yes, I remember. Yeah,
I played with Don Murray and David Carver, you know, and Don Murray was a great player.
Don Murray was a Cardiff legend, isn't he?
Yes.
He came to the Swansea.
Yeah, he came to Swansea. Only on loan for like half a season, but it was the start of sort of Cardiff players coming to us. Then he came, and Walshy came, and
Brian Attlee.
Brian Attlee came, yeah.
Brian Attlee was a great acquisition for the Swans. I mean, Tosh seemed to know who to sign at the right time. Brian Attlee did a great job. Dave Rushbury, Jeff Crudgington. In the transfer market, he didn't put a foot wrong.
No.
He was excellent. But he was also, and you back me up on this, Gilo, he was quite ruthless.
Oh, without
when
a
he
doubt.
thought a player had run their course, most famously with Dave Stewart, of course. Alan Wardle was another one who people thought there was a bit more to go with him. Yourself, Gilo, I mean, sort of in the run up to the Preston game, you know, you were a pivotal player in the start of that 80-81 season, right up to the Blackburn game where you had a great game. On the bench at Preston, and the bugger didn't let you have 5 minutes on the pitch.
That's it.
And isn't it incredible to think now how they use 5 subs? In those days, you'd play the game with 11 men and not even put the one sub on for 5 minutes.
Proper football. Proper football with proper heavy balls, proper heavy boots.
The only way you get a sub on, if I went down with a broken leg, you've got to come on then. Come on. But as regards just changing it and putting something on, they didn't used to do that.
Speedy should have gone off with his nice leg.
Gilo
wouldn't have gone into Speedy's position.
No.
Like Tosh could have juggled it.
I was playing alongside Speedy, so Speedy just had the ball. Don't run anywhere. Said me and Dudley Lewis would rather run in. And that's Javdich and Neil Robinson.
Have I got this right? You fell out of favour at one point as well, just before, and actually you were brought back in.
Yeah, I brought back in
for the second division run-in. And eventually played in that Preston game.
So I came in about 14, 15 games to go, you know, and of course we'd signed Reykjavik, like Leighton Phillips, real big signings for Swansea City, you know, but the team wasn't going well then. There was a couple of defeats. All of a sudden he said he put me and Speedy back in, and Dudley Lewis, who was a kid, 18-year-old, but you know, lightning fast. He's very quick for ball and over the top. No, he'd get it.
Well, the first 6 weeks of 1981, when we went on that dreadful run after we lost to Barrow in the Cup, we dropped right out of the reckoning, didn't we? I think we dropped to 11th. And it was at the end of February where Tosh threw Dudley in and yourself. I think I've heard him say he was within the game of giving up on it, you know. So he threw Dudley in just to give Dudley some experience. It turned around with a 3-0 win over maybe Bolton, and of course you, Speedy, and Dudley clicked.
Played
all of a
every
sudden,
game, and
within a couple of games, it's back on. But Tosh had almost given up the ghost.
Yeah.
And threw Dudley in just to blood him at the end of that season.
Yeah.
But it was the best thing he did, because we speak to Dudley in the DVD extras, actually. And, he speaks of how because he didn't have a chance in the first division, did he? The following season. But but the run-in, he was as key a player as anybody.
He was.
But as he says himself, he wasn't ready for the first division, and Tosh knew that. But that run-in, he was as pivotal as anyone. And of course, Tosh runs to him at the end of the match at Preston. He's the first person he runs to.
Yeah.
We got some wonderful photos of that from Martin Johnson, who was there. And it's just that's just a wonderful story, isn't it?
Yeah.
That day at Preston. I mean, you two guys.
Oh God, yeah.
What do you remember, if anything?
Well, personally, me on the line, it's like any play, you're desperate to get on. You want to be part of it, especially when they went 3-1 up. But like Wyndham said, these guys were playing that unless they'd broken their leg or they were seriously, no one was going to come off. So, and when Speedy went down, I knew he wouldn't come off. You'd have to shoot him really to get him off. But hey, listen, someone had to be subbed. There was only one sub in those days, and it was me. But I still felt part of it, and then in the changing rooms afterwards. And
So you should.
you were part of it.
Oh God,
So
yeah.
he always says that I felt
On the
part of it.
celebration.
Of course, he felt
the
part of it. I mean,
celebrations, yeah, my
these
God.
days, you've got a 26-man squad. They're all part of it. Blimey, to be the 12th man out of 12, you're certainly part of it.
Yes.
And you played your part in that, certainly the 79-80 season. I think Giles was one of our best players.
Yeah.
And then the 80-81 season as well. Did you feel a little bit marginalised when Kurt came back?
Well, it was a funny one really, Pete, because playing for Wales against Czechoslovakia and had a nasty injury. Did my ankle ligaments, and didn't have the medical know-how back in those days. And I can remember Phil Boersma in a bucket of ice. You couldn't feel your foot; it was that cold. And then putting all these towels around my ankle and pouring boiling hot water.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm thinking, honestly, God, you really.
It's come on a little bit since.
Oh my God! It was.
Nowadays, most physios, they'll Google it and they'll have a look on YouTube. There's YouTube video. Yeah. I wanted to real because I did some research. I actually did some research, which is very rare for me. But because I wanted to look into Wyndham a bit more, and I just wanted to read out. This is a passage from it's from a blog, 100 Years of Swansea City, Jonathan Taylor. This paragraph just was like, this sums Wyndham up beautifully. His swashbuckling style and his evident love of the game he played so well rapidly endeared him to the notoriously hard-to-please Terrace faithful, well used in those days to watch in succession of free transfers, no-opers and has-beens. Wyndham's stocky frame became a familiar sight in the number 2 jersey, where he played the majority of his 350-plus league games, mostly in the less-than-glamorous surroundings of the 3rd and 4th divisions. He was never one of the game's great stylists, but he was solid and reliable. What he lacked in footballing genius, he made up for in sheer wheel.
I like that.
You like that? It's good, isn't it? Okay. But this bit here about not one of the Graham's great stylists, is absolutely false, because we have photographic evidence that shows completely something different. We have it. Can we show that photo? Because it's an absolutely beautiful photo, not seen. It still hasn't been seen. Where is it? There it is. Look at that.
Yeah.
Now, if that doesn't say stylish, I don't know what else does. Look at him.
That's classy. Now, listen, I have to say about this fella, the one good thing when you were in the team when Wyndham was playing, if you're under the cosh, which you don't see today, and sometimes, you need someone like Wyndham to point a finger and say, hey, come on. Yeah. You only have to tell you once, just to let you know. But he was one of the best, in the game, pinger of the pass. He could ping a ball 30 yards, 40 yards, drive it like a bullet at you. And I used to love that type of ball in the channel to just bang my run and get on the end of it. And he was a great player to play with.
Well, it looks
like a local lad, really.
And a local lad. And that photo, he looks absolutely stunning. In comparison to your good self, in similar pose, we have, we've got the Gilo photo. Can we have that up? Yeah, you see, it's not quite the same.
No.
It's not quite the same. It's not quite the same debonair.
No, that's on the training ground. I think that's all called Wyndham.
Well, I think it is all.
Well, in the black kit there, that could be the negative image of Wyndham in his white kit.
It could be. Yes. It could be. Yeah, well, apart from the hair, obviously, because the hair was just...
The hair was so much like Kevin Keegan, and that's why Tosh So when Tosh signed him, they said we got Kevin Keegan now playing, and he came straight in to play with Tosh. And it was so much like Tosh and Keegan.
It is uncanny.
Having J-Lo and Tosh is unbelievable.
Because you both got
Tosh
great
just
voices
flicks on,
well.
he was in goal.
That's a great picture of Gilo, though. It does look a little bit like you're on exercise at the prison, though. Let's be honest.
It's an open prison.
It is an open prison. Yeah.
It's a white collar crime.
Anyway, we're going to get to comments. Comments are coming in, so thank you very much for your comments. Do keep them coming in. I am going to say this, and anybody else who's thinking of this, I'm going to actually say this now. Right. So, Chris in Newport, tell us the infamous story of the police raid at the Bayview Hotel and Tosh's reaction. No, we're not going to tell you that.
No.
It's in the film, and it's brilliant. And it's not just like you think you know the story. The whole story comes out, and Tosh's reaction, and everything comes out. And
you could also say, which police raid at the Bayview?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Because there was more than
That's
one.
just one of them.
That was one of them,
yeah. So, Chris in Newport, sorry, but that's not going to happen.
Shall I mention the other one?
Go on then.
Go on, you can mention the other one.
Yeah, the other one, J-Lo had just joined us. And
how do I know you will be involved again?
He just joined us, and obviously, and my wife and Kurt's wife and everybody else went to see Ange, his wife, and we always used to say, let's have a night out together, so the girls can get together and the boys get together. So anyway, we went to the Bayview then. No, not one of the Bayview. What was the hotel he was staying in?
The Ashley Hotel.
The Ashley Hotel. He was staying in. I was him and his wife. Until they get a house, whatever, because he just joined us. But all us went down there and joined in, and we had a good party and enjoyed meeting Angela and that, you know. And anyway, the next morning, because he everything was paid for by the club at the time, and the next morning we had all had a meal there, about 18 or something like that.
Easy, yeah.
And we put the bill on J-Lo's room. So the club paid it because it was a J-Lo staying there.
Yeah.
So of course, the next morning, Tosh said, Wyndham, in here. Straight in the office. Said, so what happened last night? I said, well, you know, we went out to J-Lo and the girls met Angela and all that, you know. Yeah, but said you didn't pay the bill. They said it was about 230 quid.
Yeah, which back then was a lot of money.
The drinks more than the food, but and we were welcomed into the. No, that's something we used to do with them.
Team spirits. Team
bonding. Yeah,
exactly.
Team bonding is
absolutely right. Yeah, yeah.
And he said, but you put it on on J-Lo's bill. That's the club has got to pay all that now. Well, that's okay then. Said, but he's in now. We said J-Lo and Ange are in the team, like that.
We're in.
Nice.
Get out.
And to be fair, you haven't missed many rounds since, have you?
No, I haven't.
Let's be honest.
No,
you haven't. No.
Not.
So you've certainly made up for it.
It's worth noting that the club went bankrupt a few years later.
New players come in the club.
Yeah.
Sunk by the weight of unpaid bar bills. Right. Okay. Now, let's have an exclusive clip then. This is from the DVD extras of Tosh, the documentary film, and this is it just sums up, as I said at the beginning there, you know, it just kind of sums up, this is what the reaction was when it was announced that Tosh was coming to Swansea City then. Let's take a look.
Wyndham Evans and Danny Bartley.
That's right. Well, we've spoken to both of them.
Lally. As you think that team there, Barber, Evans, Lally, Bruton, Bartley, Robbie James, Charlo,
Speedy.
No, Speedy coming later, yeah. Kurt,
Mikey Mack.
Alan Waddle, yes. He coming later as well. What about what do you want me to do this now? I gotta put this on there. Right.
Can I move this back?
So if you can run it at the top and come
Right.
at the top for me, please.
For every time I've done this.
You can buy a house round here, I'd imagine.
It's a while since I have, but that Chesterfield game's still the same. See, don't go away.
Fantastic.
Right, there we go.
Could you take your mask off your arms?
Yes, certainly. You put that by my telephone and all right, okay.
Have you got a pocket that could slide into?
I haven't, no, but I can put it in there like that. Right, so just give me a quick brief on the questions you're going to ask me so I can...
We're going to talk about broadly from 1978 to 1982
Right.
with the Swans. We're just going to get a little bit of background on you growing up in Cardiff.
Right, okay.
And a little bit on Liverpool. But
Right.
chiefly we're talking about that meteoric rise that you
Right.
masterminded.
Yeah, it was a bit of shock to people that he'd gone to a 4th division team, but everyone was thinking, well, he's Welsh, you know, he's at Swansea, he can get into management. He'll use this as an apprenticeship, really.
The whole idea of going as a player from the best club in Europe at that time, and certainly the best club in the country, to go into the 4th division, just seemed bonkers.
So yeah, I remember Toshak going, I think, and he went to Swansea and as player manager, because he still had playing days left in him. He was still a very good player, you know, but obviously we took a keen interest then in the Swansea results, because Toshak, any player ever left, and he was a hero to the Cop. You know, we'd look at the results, you know.
I think a lot of Cardiff people I know at the time thought, how can Tosh go to Swansea, you know? I mean, why didn't he... Still, I mean, I was still playing for Liverpool 24 games, 25 games a season, European competition. So at the level that they were at, I could still perform, not maybe 42 games a season, but it was on the rebound. As I say, I met Malcolm Struhl at this sports trade fair in Swansea and got talking. I thought, yeah, back here in South Wales, and off we went.
How easy was it settling in Swansea?
Very easy, I think, as a family. I mean, obviously a beautiful place, and the people are very welcoming. And that's something I think that's still close to Dad's heart. You know, even though he was born in Cardiff and has, you know, real ties to Cardiff City and Cardiff as a city, I think the opportunity that he was given here and the people, how they accepted him, and obviously the success that followed, both from his point of view and from a family point of view, you know, we've always been very grateful. And even throughout Dad's, you know, career where he's gone abroad, we based ourselves here within the city. So yeah, the transition and the welcome from the people, you know, couldn't have been any better.
And because that's another thing, you see, as an Englishman, you don't fully understand the Swansea-Cardiff rivalry. So, you know, now I've spent a bit of time in Cardiff, I am beginning to understand it. And to be a star player at Cardiff, go off to Liverpool and then go back and do what he did with Swansea, it's some achievement.
The rivalry was quite intense from a fan point of view. I didn't realise how hostile it could be. I didn't play in a first team derby at Everton, but I'd been a supporter at one. So I knew how intense that was, but it was just as intense. I think every derby, all these derby situation, the rivalry was really intense.
I was at Cardiff when Tosh turned up there, because he came back. He wanted to be a coach at Cardiff. And the manager at the time, Jimmy Andrews, said, no, you can come back as a player, but I don't want you involved in the coaching. And to be honest, you know, it's not what Tosh wanted, and fair dues to him. Cardiff were in the 2nd division then, and he obviously turned it down, and we all know the rest is history. He went to Swansea and what he did there, but, you know, it was a massive loss for Cardiff again. You know, he was the local hero, was saying, look, I'll come back now and I'll do what I can for the club. I just want to learn the coaching side. He didn't want to take over as manager, but the club stopped it.
As I say, it was a chance for me to get back to South Wales. I think I mentioned to you, I'd gone and offered myself to Cardiff that particular time, and Jimmy Andrews I think Jimmy saw a little bit, or was a little bit fearful for his own job. You know, I say that with all respect, you know, and so I thought, well, I can still play even at this level. I played games in Europe for Liverpool. I said, but no, they turned it down. And as I say, I went to Swansea on the rebound, really, at that sports trade fair where I met Malcolm, and he convinced me and said, that's it, I'm going to do it.
The thing with John Toshak, is he does have a kind of film star quality. So when you see footage of him addressing the crowds, certainly when he took over the club, the amount of charisma, he exudes star quality.
I think when you hear the name John Toshak, you know, especially in Liverpool, people know how important he was to the football club and what type of player he was. You know, everyone speaks fondly about him, and Liverpool is a city that loves its football, so you would also hear Everton fans speaking of him highly too.
It's good, isn't it? It's good. Come on, let's go. Take a moment. We all right? We good? Yeah. Okay. There we go. I'd actually forgotten that we'd, and I don't know why I'd forgotten because I literally watched it about an hour ago. But I'd forgotten that we put in the whole thing because you don't normally see the sort of, you know, the setting up of the interview and everything with Tosh over in Barcelona. Then he's got his face mask up his sleeve and everything. But that was
just an idea Dan and I had. It was just an unguarded moment from Tosh. He's just so relaxed. You never know what Tosh you're going to get, and these guys will back that up.
Yeah.
The day we went to see him in Barcelona, he was on the form of his life. He was fantastic, and he was just so relaxed when we put the mic on him, and he started reeling off the names of the team that he inherited from Harry Griffiths, and it's like a proud old army major recounting the names of his battalion, you know? Pat Lally, Barber, Bruton, Evans, Bartley. It's fantastic, and I thought, well, let's get that in the DVD extras because it's such a nice, relaxed, unguarded moment, and I think Tosh will like that as well. And like I say, when we went over to see him, he was fantastic, and it really comes across in the film. He's warm, he's funny, and he's everything you want him to be.
He's confident.
And confident.
That's the word.
And there's so much still up there, you know, in terms of his knowledge.
I've never met such a confident person in my life.
There's another moment in there. I can't remember which. I hope it comes up somewhere else in the film or the DVD extras when he is going through the names, and all of a sudden he goes, "Oh, I can't remember." Then he goes, "Don't let Wyndham hear you say that."
That's right. That's when there's so much emphasis is put on the Holy Trinity. Tosh referred to them as his jewels. That was Alan Curtis, Jeremy Charles, and Robbie James. Because they were so supremely talented. They did take a lot of the focus, but it was people like Danny Bartley and Wyndham who were every bit as important. Indeed, we talk about Tosh coming to Swansea and not to Cardiff. It wasn't such an accident because he did do his homework. And he knew we had three players, which Cardiff didn't have. No offence, Gilo.
No,
but
exactly.
at that time, Cardiff, although there were two divisions above us, were kind of in the doldrums. Swansea had these three precociously talented youngsters, Kurt, Robbie and Charlo. And Tosh knew them from the Welsh setup. So he knew when he came to Swansea, he had something to work with. And but again, don't let Wyndham hear you say that. That's
a lovely little moment, it really is.
And Tosh knew as well there that Shankly had told us prior to that, and said to have a perfect football team, you need 8 people strong enough to carry a piano and 3 who can play the bloody thing. And he said, so get the ball to these lads as quickly and as often as possible.
Kurt's the concert pianist.
Yes,
And
I'm the piano carrier, along with another 7 of us. And it's right, and if you look at Liverpool now, they've got 3 guys who are top class, and 8 guys who just get the ball and get it to these guys as fast as possible.
They can all bang out the tune on the piano as well, though.
Well, everyone can play chopsticks, can't they? You know, you only need to play a couple of 3 or 4 tunes.
You haven't heard Danny Bartley play chopsticks?
I've got to tell you this story. You're going on about the piano. It's just, and this is fact. I was a 11-year-old kid coming home from junior school.
I love this story.
And my dad used to play in the local band at Cardiff City at the ground there behind it. They had a club called the Bluebirds Club. My dad was in a resident band there for 20 years. Anyway, we had always had a piano in the front room. He was giving the piano to the Bluebirds Club. You know, he said, would you like it? And they said, yes. So the steward of the club, he said, I'll speak to the groundsman. We'll get the ground staff boys, which Tosh was on at the time. He was 16, 17, to come down and get it. So anyway, they've come down. I've come round the corner and I can just see this kid screaming on the floor in the gutter. And as I got closer, he'd played in the first team then, I realised it was John Toshak. The piano had fallen on his foot and broke his leg.
It's incredible, I never heard that.
Yeah, that is fact. That's the only time that Jimmy Schooler, the manager, after that, he said he never does any work, anything again. It's the only time I think he ever broke his leg or had a nasty injury. But years later, when I signed for Swansea, I told the lads that, and I'm sure a lot of people have remembered it. I'm sure you guys remember. There was an advert with the monkey. He says, "Hey, Dad, do you know the piano's on my foot?" He went, "You have it, son, and I'll play it." Well, I used to shout, "Hey, Tosh, do you know the piano's on your foot?" He used to turn around and just look at me.
Didn't they send a flatbed truck round and they tried to load it on?
Trying to get it on the back of it.
I mean, can you imagine? I mean, Tosh was the hottest property at Cardiff at the time, 16. Can you imagine Liverpool or Man City sending their hottest property round to like a piano somewhere? I mean, they could have been insured for 10 million already, wouldn't he?
I totally get it. I mean, we've got our hottest property, Evan, on camera tonight, and we've had him putting on biscuits and stuff. So and he's been moving furniture around.
Some pretty heavy bourbons over there.
It is pretty heavy bourbons over there. You see, so it still happens. It still happens in the real world. Maybe not in the Premier League, but it does. Right.
And one thing, the last thing that Bill Shankly told us, the worst player you can have in your team is a piano carrier who thinks he's a piano player.
That's good.
And we've all seen them, haven't we?
Oh, yes.
Centre back, straight on, trying to nutmeg people.
Producer Dan thinks he's one of them. He does, yeah. There's always one. Just anyway, right. Couple of questions. Let's just quickly. So Dan, producer Dan, who's actually said, what moment from the Tosh era sticks with you most? Then, so that's a lot. It's a lot to take in. But one, if you like, somebody said, right, Tosh era, name it now.
Well, Wyndham will have drinking. Well, you were both there for a long time, but 78 to 82. What would be the standout moment? I guess it's going to be Preston, isn't it?
Well, it's definitely Preston because of what happens. We came home, and then the next day, the whole city came to welcome us.
Oh, tell us about that. Yeah.
Fabulous.
We've seen some of the
open top bus
and stuff. Open top bus.
That was actually a week after the open top bus. You got back in the early hours of the Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask Gilo what exactly happened, because I think you told me something about 15 cans on the bus on the way home.
Oh my God! Well, we stopped in Liverpool as well, didn't we? We stopped in the.
Well, he loved that. He stopped in Liverpool to go to the hotel.
Yes.
And he met a few Liverpool players.
Yeah, there was a few Liverpool guys.
Congratulating Tosh, and we had a good drink there. Then we went down to the.
So you must have got back to the Vetch about 2:00.
Yeah.
And you
went to Bayview.
Pick up the story. You got in the car to go from the Vetch just outside the prison.
That's what happened in those days. So I got off the bus. I can't put a figure on the amount of pints I'd had and glasses of wine and whatever else. Straight away, everyone said, "Right, lads, hold on the Bayview, keeping it open." I just jumped straight in the car. And there was a guy asking me questions. My wife, Angela, was sat next to me. And this policeman come over there, and he went, "Are you okay, Mr. Giles?" I said, yeah, I'm fine. We're going down the Bayview. And he moved the crowd out the way. Well, when he smelt my breath, and he called me on, "Come on then, go on then, out you go." Oh my God.
We should say for the uninitiated, the distance from the prison, such a salubrious surrounding, by the way, and the distance from the prison to the Bayview is not very far, especially at that time.
Probably could have walked there quicker.
We're talking a different,
100 yards.
If you'd tried to walk it, mate, you'd have taken it longer.
It would have been
twice as long. And it was a very different era. So not something that we advocate nowadays. But that's because for a long time I thought there were only two hotels in Swansea: the Bayview and the Dragon. That's it.
Anyway, there's the big one opposite the Vetch that you end up in if you're naughty.
Well, the prison, yes. Right. Martin, thank you very much for your question. He says, any stories of the big first division players turning up at the Vetch and with the small changing rooms and the facilities then? So, Tosh is getting these Liverpool players like Ian Callahan in and
Ray Kennedy.
But Harry Griffiths was a physio at that time, and he would occasionally say you're injured, your thigh or something like that, or your knee is troubling you. He'd go across to the prison. He knew the guys in the prison. He knocked the door. Come the door. He said, "I got one player here. They had better equipment in the prison than in the Vetch to get you right, And he said, and I was walking through the prison. Could you have treatment? And I was on the bed, and all these guys around me, God, And that's what it was. Harrier was friendly with the prison because they had better equipment than we had in the Veg.
Wow. Well, in the pre-Tosh era, apparently in Swansea prison, if you were particularly badly behaved, they'd give you a cell with a view over the Veg.
Yeah. I can believe that. Yeah. Many a time where Jello and I have sat there at the Veg thinking, you know what, I'd rather be doing this.
Yeah, we've looked over there.
No, but when the away team came outside the prison, all the boys that were in prison were shouting the winner, "You're going to get beat!"
Yeah.
I think getting back to that question from Martin, it was quite notorious in those days when clubs like Man United would come down. So it wasn't so much the Swans players, but the visiting players, because the facilities at the Veg were nothing to be admired. And I think that was one of our strengths, because that narrow passageway leading down to the players' entrance, and the tiny. So what would their reaction have been? The likes of Dalglish and Brian Robson, would they have been? Apparently, Glenn Orrell once came down and said, "My back garden's big."
There's a joke. He said. He said it on the field. Like,
did he?
Yeah.
And then
my back garden's big, and that's because we kicked him a bit.
In his own back garden.
Yeah, beat him 3 on his own back garden.
I didn't realise that the likes of Callie and Toby, they were training up in Liverpool. They're joining you down the games. So sometimes you train together, but not all the time. They'd be doing their bit up there.
No, they were doing their own bit up there. Obviously, they were top professionals, and as long as they were fit, they were in our team. You know, Smithy and Carly were in all through the 3rd division and part of the 2nd division. You know, and they were the great lads, but they'd just come down on a Friday for a Saturday game, stay somewhere in the Mumbles, and they used to love it, enjoyed it, you know, and it furthered their career.
But they were very different characters, but very, very close, weren't they? Because they come through the system at Liverpool. But Smithy, we touched on in the film, was volatile. Callie, I know myself from meeting him, very modest and quiet.
Yeah.
So they were fire and ice almost, weren't they?
Tommy Smith,
but they had a close bond, and they got on brilliantly, because they must have spent a hell of a lot of time together up and down the motorway.
Yeah.
Did they complement each other off the pitch as much as they did on the pitch?
Shankly was asked one night, how hard was Tommy Smith? And he said, I guess he said he was born late, May 1945, and 3 weeks later, Germany surrendered.
There's some lovely Shankly stuff in the film as well. Which is just, every time you look at it, you just go, that's the wisest man in the world.
Yeah.
But even when he looks at what you guys did and what Tosh did at Swansea, he looks at and he was stunned by it, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, it's a gift to us as filmmakers. The things that Shank said, you know, if you're making a film about someone who did an extraordinary job at a football club, to have Bill Shankly describe him as a manager of the century, you know, that's going on the cover of the DVD, isn't it? He couldn't have been more glowing in his praise of Tosh. I mean, they had a real, quite a father-son relationship, didn't they?
Yes.
And Tosh touches on this in the film. He says a lot of the ex-Liverpool players went into management, and they all had Shanks to fall back on. And he's quite, it's quite nice the way Tosh says it, because he feels quite sheepish about saying it. He says, if I say so myself, I think you're a little bit a special feel for me. And I think that's definitely true.
Yeah, definitely,
He took to him straight away, and they were incredibly close. And of course, we touch on Shanks's passing in the film. And you see, even now, 40 years on, Tosh speaking with real reverence and poignancy. And we see some footage of him in an interview from back at the time, and you can see the colours going from his face. He's shell-shocked.
I think he carried the coffin as well, Pete, didn't he?
The day before the Swansea Liverpool game. So again, another gift to us as filmmakers. That Liverpool Swansea game falling the week after Shanks died. Tosh was up there for the funeral, and then again, of course, the game was played in a hostile atmosphere. Even though the two clubs have been intrinsically linked because of Tosh, it kind of all went out the window that day, didn't it? Because somebody shouted something outside the ground, which then spread and upset the 1 minute silence. Liverpool fans then suddenly turned on the Swans fans and vice versa. The game was played in a very fiery atmosphere. Finished 2-2, probably the best result from a diplomatic point of view. Were either of you up there that day?
I travelled with the team, and I wasn't involved in the match day. He took his tracksuit off, and he had a Liverpool shirt.
So you would have been in the audience for that then?
Yes.
And so what was did you have any inkling he was going to do that?
No, nobody did.
He didn't tell anybody?
No. Personally, he thought it was a good thing, and I don't know. I think it could have been one of the things that cost him is getting the Liverpool job as well. You know, I think it was disrespectful.
We don't know that, but a lot of people said that.
Yes, disrespectful to the Swansea fans, really. I think.
Yeah, interesting you say that. We've got a real mixed bag in the film of what people think of that. Some think it was a fitting tribute. Some think it was slightly insensitive. Wasn't really the most tactful thing. Knowing Tosh like I do now, and like you both do, I think he would have done it with total conviction, and whichever way it was.
Yeah.
And so that's again, that's a really sort of interesting thing.
I think if you understand the bond between Shankly and Tosh, then I think you understand his actions, don't you?
Well, John Bishop and Peter Houghton from The Farm, who were two of the Scousers we have in the film, they both thought it was a great gesture.
Yeah.
And Liverpool fans certainly appreciated it.
Yeah, they appreciated it.
Yeah, but it certainly put a cat among the pigeons.
Oh, it did. Definitely, yeah.
Well, the Swans fans, you know, he should have had a Swan shirt on.
He should have,
because that was it. You know, he was going back to Liverpool.
I think John Bishop says, you know, having borne the coffin the day before and had this history with, if he hadn't made some sort of mention of it during the minute silence, it would have seemed a bit strange, you know, because it was such a seismic.
But none of us minded it, did we? All us players said, you know, it's okay, you know, whatever, you know, just showing respect to Bill Shankly, full stop.
Yeah.
It was okay.
Now, the backdrop to all of this, of course, is Swansea during the 70s and the 80s. And we're going to show you another exclusive DVD extra clip now. And because what we're talking about here is, you know, Swansea at the time was, you know, it was a city which was struggling, wasn't it? It was a city where there was a lot of poverty and, you know, it was called Ugly, Lovely Swansea. But the effect that that you guys had on the city
lifted the whole city.
Yeah. So there's and I know, Pete, that's something that you do touch on in the film, and we've got something else from the DVD extras to show you now, which I think kind of sums that up as well.
In 1975, yes, obviously I was very young, but obviously because it was such a football and the Swans was such a family thing, it was very much nearly like a bereavement, you know, the stress and the worry.
I can remember the stress and the tension and the worry about getting re-election.
It was the middle of a pretty rough time for Swansea. They'd had the lowest gate ever, 1300, worst disciplinary record in the Football League, and I was only in the job a few months, and they were having to apply for re-election.
Well, the Swans in the 70s. I mean, I all remember going down to Workington Town 7, Swans 0, Chester 5, Mansfield, Halifax. I mean, in Port, you've never heard of any of these teams nowadays.
I can remember, like, the police phoning my dad, or they've thrown stones through your office window again. The fans,
they scratched the side of his car.
Acid, I think he had on his car. So he did go through it, and as Alan said, we were, you know, he sort of bore the brunt of it really, but he was determined to get through it.
They might have gone out of the league, is quite possible, but for the chairman Malcolm Struhl and Harry Griffiths, who went on to become manager, without their canvassing, and I think they wrote to just about every club in the country. And the great thing was that when it came to the counting the votes, Swansea finished top of the pile, so they stayed in the league, but it could have been so different.
For the clubs to appreciate what a long history Swansea had and how much they'd already given to football, and luckily they gave more.
Viv Jenkins was at the sports promotion with Barry John. He and Barry John knew each other very well. Barry John knew John Toshak. So I think word had got around that Tosh was there, and Viv Jenkins spoke to Malcolm Struhl, arranged for a meeting. From what I understand, Tosh actually went to his house. I don't think that was reported at the time, but I have heard that story since.
And then I can remember, can you remember going, my dad saying, listen, you mustn't tell anyone, you mustn't say anything, but we're going in the car now to the Dragon Hotel to pick up John Tosh up, to bring him back to the house, to to discuss, but you mustn't say anything. I thought,
Obviously, if he'd have been approached in the middle of the Dragon Hotel or something, any discussions, it would have got to the press straight away. So he was taken back to our house and
discussed.
And that's where it all started, really.
And they threshed out an agreement, and I think Tosh was quite overwhelmed by the enthusiasm that Malcolm Struhl showed, because the complete opposite in Cardiff.
I don't know whether they were ready for change just at that particular time. They knew they had to. And they knew it was silly little things, like the reception was awful, you know, and there was no communication between like the supporters clubs and things like that. So yeah, change was needed.
And then you can imagine coming into when Toshak was announced as the manager, player manager, shall I say. It was just the whole city was just erupted, you know, because Toshak was at that time, he just won the European Cup with Liverpool. You know, he was a great player for Wales. And he was still only, he was under 30, if I remember, 29 when he joined. So the whole city was totally in awe of expectation, I would say.
Then he just shook it all up. He just got all these blokes to play to their full potential. And luckily for him, I guess, and for us, they were all good players. You know, they had the talent inside them, you know.
It's not what you would automatically assume someone to do, but it was such a brave step to say I'm going to go to a club that is not only in the lower division but is struggling. You know what I mean? I know they were getting lined up in the previous manager, because he referenced the previous manager, didn't he? What was his name?
Harry Griffiths.
Yeah, I know that was probably one of the beneficial things, because I was told he tried to go back to Cardiff in some capacity, didn't he? And that wasn't permitted. And then Harry Griffiths, the Swansea manager, sort of, I don't know, did he take him under his wing or something? He certainly did something that seemed class, you know what I mean? He seemed like a man of class to say, yeah, for the benefit of the club, let's try this young fella and give him a chance and give him some guidance. And you don't get that a lot in football.
He was great. Harry never changed as a person. He's just a character, you know. And everybody liked him because he was a bit clever, you know, jokes and all the things. But Harry was great.
Harry loved Tosh from the moment they met. He was very happy to step down, and Tosh couldn't believe the welcome that he had, first of all from Malcolm, but certainly from Harry, because, you know, at Cardiff there was clearly some sort of resentment, where at Swansea it was an open arms welcome.
All of a sudden everyone's scratching their head. What's happening with the Swans? They're winning again.
Yeah, that's absolutely brilliant. Some lovely stuff in there. A couple of things I want to pick up on. Number one, what are the chances that Bergam just happened to have a pile of Tosh and Swansea City books just in front of him? Eh? When you walked in, you must have gone, God, that's lucky.
That's what we said the very same thing. Yeah, but John's a lovely fella, and
he is, yeah.
I grew up reading about the Swans, and you know his name was always there. His name was as familiar to me as some of the players. You know, he covered it right through the Tosh era and beyond. He's a lovely chap, and getting him involved in this, he's actually one of the most authoritative voices in the film. And we're very lucky to have him on board.
Yeah. Also in there, Martin Johnson as well. Martin plays an important part of the film because of this beautiful archive of photos that you've been given access to.
Martin is a massive Swans fan, and he was given a camera in 1980 when he was 15. And as he says, his parents, it cost twice his dad's wages. And that Christmas, his siblings must have got tangerines for Christmas because all the money went on this camera. And he used it to take, I mean, he must have 500-600 photos, and they're all of a professional standard. And they're fantastic images. And we're very fortunate to be able to use them in this film, because as you'll see, we got the pictures of Kurt and Robbie and Charlo. These images are fantastic, but they're well seen. So what we're using in the film are images that have never been seen by anyone other than, even Martin hasn't seen them for 40 odd years. Go through and pull out the negatives. And it's a treasure trove of Swansea City images. and we're thrilled to use them. I know Gilo hadn't seen that lovely one of him
No,
with
never
the short
seen that,
shorts
no.
on.
Well, that's training ground, yeah.
That's right, and Wyndham
I haven't seen
that
the other one. Right?
That's right. So that's a real treat in store for Swansea fans, is that we've got this wonderful archive of shots.
Yeah, and they're taken on film as well. Like they're not blinking digital camera, snap away and then delete whatever. You know, on film, he only had 24 shots. So well,
that's it. And he, you know, these days you can shoot away. In those days, he would go to a game like to Preston. He'd have 36 shots, so he had to pick and choose when he took them. And there's not a duff shot in his roll of film, because he had a great eye. And it's incredible what he's got.
Yeah, magical. And then, of course, we have to mention Harry at the end, because Harry is as an important part of this. And, you know, John Bishop talked about it in that corner over there. You know, the class of the man to step aside, to take Tosh on his break. Now, that must have made everything just so much easier in so many respects.
A wonderful guy. When I first joined the club, Herbie Williams was the captain, and he told me, he said, keep it quiet now the first couple of weeks, keep your mouth shut, he said, and just blend in, you know, in the dressing room and all that. So I said, okay, I'll do my best. And I said, so after a week or so now, Harry Griffiths came in, and I shouted, Harry, why am I always in the second team? Because you haven't got a third team, son.
Yeah.
And Herbie went like that, you know, zip.
Yeah.
And I went, and all the boys laughed. And I thought, Herbie did tell me to keep my mouth shut. But it was such a funny thing, you know. It remained to me forever, you know. And you know, the things he told us was, you know, was about like form is like temporary. You mean, or failure is temporary, and if it'll only become permanent if you give up. That was wonderful what he said, and it's the same in life now. All us in life, if you think, you know, things are going wrong, don't give up.
No,
keep fighting all the time until you get it right. You know.
But you know what? Not many outside of Swansea, not many people know about Harry Griffiths. It's been an absolute privilege to talk about Harry in this film. He gets almost equal billing as Tosh. When we talk about Harry's sad that he passed away, Wyndham speaks brilliantly on the subject. Tosh couldn't be more glowing in his praise of Harry. He just sounded like such a wonderful man. I wish I'd known him. I was only 5 when he passed away.
He's a lovely guy.
But yeah, and I really hope his family see this film and see what justice we've done. We've got people like John Bishop talking about him. I bet they could never imagine that. But equally importantly, Wyndham, Tosh, and it's a big Harry's a big part of this film. And we've unearthed some footage of him talking, which I'd never heard before. He comes out with a line, if I can get up in the morning and come down to the vet field, I'm a happy man.
Yeah.
In the simpler times, the guy was an absolute giant.
There are people like that, aren't there? Just like woven into the fabric of the club, aren't they? You can't separate the two of them.
When he'd gone from a player to a scout to, I mean, when he was manager eventually, he took the job reluctantly, didn't he?
Yeah.
But he made a great fist of it. I mean, he was.
And all the fans could relate to him. He's only up the road. I mean, and he's a Swansea boy. He played for Swansea all his life. Nobody else. Just Swansea.
And you were as likely to see him in the bookies as you were at the vet. And you would chat with him in the bookies about the football. You know, he would talk to everyone, and people like that just don't exist anymore.
No.
Really.
Well, when he took over as manager, you know, he put me in the team, Kurt, Charlo, Speedy, Robbie, all the local boys, because that's who it was. When he was a player, Ivor Allchurch, Lenny Allchurch, Chad Kelsey, Harry Griffiths, and the fans can relate to you. Do you know what I mean?
There are parallels between the 50s team that he'd been in and then the team that he fostered at Swansea. It was very much in that image, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. It was Ivor Allchurch and Len Allchurch and Terry Medwin. They were the 3 piano players.
Yeah.
And we had Kurt, Robbie, and
of course Mel Charles, and then Jeremy Charles. So there was even a family connection. Yeah. Charlo's in the film as well, along with Kurt.
Charlo's in the film.
Charlo was good value. So yeah, you know,
he's great fun.
The only person who we haven't got in the film who was of the key was Robbie James, of course. And, you know,
died when he was 40.
That's right, but we've paid tribute to him wonderfully. I'd like to think so. And his family gave us some wonderful photos, which are in there. And everybody speaks in just the most
fantastic.
Gilo goes way back to a schoolboy player.
And 11's the first time I came across Robbie. I was playing for Cardiff boys against Swansea boys. Where the Liberty is now, there was years ago with big companies, big industries, they all had private sports grounds. And I think it was a steelworks or something just along by there, Wyn, and it was a cold, frosty morning, 10:30 kickoff. I always remember the school teacher who was in charge of Cardiff. He said, listen, he said, they got one kid playing for them called Robbie James. He said, keep your eye on him. And I've never seen, even at 11, he could hit a ball and run with the ball. How we used to run with his arms up. Little strides, but really quick. And we become great friends, we're great friends all my life with him. And, and Wyndham will tell you.
And if somebody kicked Robbie,
he
used to, in the 70s, he used to say you kick me now. If I don't kick you back within 5 minutes, you'll kick me again.
Yeah.
And again.
Yeah.
And again. So whether you had it, I was going to kick you. And that was it. And Robbie was that at such a young age. If somebody kicked him, not 5 minutes, he'd be kicking him the next minute.
Yeah.
You'd kick him back, or in his face.
I'm going to start adopting some of this stuff in the office. This is good stuff. Piano carriers, kicking out everybody every 5 minutes. This is all good. We need to write this stuff down because it's really important. Anyway, right. It's been an absolute joy. It really has. An hour has flown by. You guys aren't finished yet because it's we've got a competition. And the competition is we are giving away 2 of these very, very nice posters. There are currently only 6 of them in existence. I mean, we're going to get more, but right now there are only 6 of them. But you boys, you need to sign these posters, and we're going to give them away. So the way that you win them is by liking and sharing this video. Crack on. And we will draw 2 names at random, and you will win a signed, literally being signed as I speak. There you are. See, can't get more real than that. You also need to sign the big one behind you as well. We're going to put that on eBay. Right, it's been so that is the competition. Then there are.
Can I enter?
No, you can't. No, okay. No.
I'll have to nick one then.
Well, I mean, I'll count them in and I'll count them out. So yeah. I'll tell you what we can do. I can send you a little printed version, like postcard version.
Oh, that'd be lovely. Thank you.
While they're doing that, for
just
you,
2 of them, sir?
Just the 2, yeah.
Okay.
And then just do that one behind you as well. For you, Pete, production has been, I don't know, a year, more than that. I can't remember. It seems like it's been going on forever. But for you, it actually has, because this is a labor of love. This is decades in the making for you.
Yeah.
Now it's done. Now you've seen it.
Yeah.
Is there a moment in you go, that's that moment?
Do you know what that's like? Well, this film has been 5 years in the making, 3 years with Dan over there, my producer, and this company. It's all really happened very, very quickly since Christmas, because even when we went out to see Tosh in November, we weren't nailed on it was going to happen. But I think my overriding thing with the film is just how brilliant Tosh himself is. He is the star of the show because the film is about him, but his presence on screen now, even today, is he fills the screen, and he's just he brings real sort of, he's almost like a rock star quality to it, and you couldn't ask for better. I think with age as well, he's mellowed slightly, and that's no bad thing. He comes across as a lot gentler and warmer, perhaps. But yeah, he is undoubtedly the star of the show, as these guys are. But Tosh is the figurehead, and that's what you want for a film all about John Toshak. So I think that's what people will go away with is just what a fantastic person and fantastic figure he is.
Cool. Well, thanks very much for that, Pete, then. So the premiere is on Friday, the 13th of May. Yes, we know. There's nothing we can do about it. We're just going against the grain, okay? It's going to be at the Swansea.com stadium. Tickets are available right now. If you go to www.eatsleep.media/Tosh, and we'll put that at the bottom of the screen, you will find information on how to get tickets to the premiere. There are also cinema showings. We've got a cinema showing in Liverpool, one in Chester, Cardiff, a couple around Swansea as well. So details of cinema listings are at that website as well, as is details of how to get your DVD pre-order as well. And it's blinking worth it because there's like 75 minutes of joyous, beautiful film in there. And then the DVD extras, we've shown you just a little taste, okay? Those were the shorter ones. There's a lot more where that came from. So really amazing stuff in there. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining this evening.
Okay.
Pleasure, Al.
Yeah, pleasure.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Thank you.
We aim to please. That's it. You've been watching a Welsh Football Fans Eat Sleep Media production. This production is the Welsh Football Fans is sponsored by Valley Carpet and Pure Vans, and we thank them as ever for their continuing support. We will catch you at the next Welsh Football Fans Facebook Live coming to you soon.